There's been a situation. There's a game. It is called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It comes out in 2 days. I actually thought it came out already. I was a fucking idiot. I didn't know that it hadn't come out yet. But I saw Shroud play it. I thought it was out. Apparently, it's not out yet. And so, it will be out in 3 days. Because of that, a lot of people want to review the game. This game has attracted a lot of attention. It's attracted a lot of controversy, and it's attracted a lot of conversations. Here's what's funny about it. IGN, who gave one of the more negative review-skewing reviews in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, has been told they will not be getting codes to review the game at all. This is what, I guess, a guy that was talking about, he works at IGN, he's talking about games. And we won't have our review of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League at launch as review codes have not been sent ahead of time. In fact, Warner Brothers has declined to send IGN codes at all. We'll get our impressions up as soon as we're able for the first release. Thank you for your patience. I know that everybody is spamming W because you think games journalism is a joke. But you know what is an even bigger joke? Access journalism. And that's what this is. This is fucking bullshit. What the fuck are we talking about? That this is a good thing that people that provide negative reviews for games aren't getting the copy to review the game. Think about how fucking bad that is. Not games journalists, IGN is a joke. No, they're not. I think they're one of the more fair groups. Like, I would understand if they're just completely misrepresenting and lying about things, but I saw what they said about the game, and I thought that it was fair. A lot of people did. You want to go and read what they said? It was very reasonable. And I even said this, listen, I want to make sure that I'm very consistent with this. It's a form of censorship. Well, the worst part about this form of censorship, agree to disagree, they were not fair. Do you see the problem? Okay, so let's assume that you're right. Let's assume you're right. Who determines what's fair? Well, obviously the people that are making the game, right? Okay, sure. So have you guys ever had like a situation whenever you were in a WoW guild and two people get invited in as a package deal and then they say, oh, well, we're okay if one of us doesn't make the trial as long as we get a fair chance. And then anytime that one of them doesn't make the trial, they never believe that they had a fair chance. Because this is in the eye of the person who's receiving the feedback. So, of course, people that are making a video game think that negative criticism of the video game is going to be more likely to be unfair. So I don't like this idea. And I think that this paradigm is wrong. Absolutely. They're fair, but they go easy on bigger games. Warner Brothers just thinks it's too hard because it's going to be a shitty modern game. It's a red flag from publishers. Why wouldn't you want someone to review your game unless you already know that it's bad and the review will get people to avoid the game? That is exactly fucking right. And I find it to be so disappointing. And I understand, guys, because there has been 10 years of animosity that games journalists have created. By the way, they have created this animosity. They deserve this animosity, but they do not deserve this outcome, and neither do you. Because this is bad for you. This is bad for everybody when people are providing reviews knowing that if they provide a negative review, they will be less likely to get a copy of the next game. That's why it's bad. And so, for every shitty, stupid, fucking SJW, woke, garbage, like Square Enix doesn't care about black people article that Kotaku writes, I can roll my eyes, I can laugh at it, I can call it fucking stupid, but they still deserve their review copy just like everybody else does. Because if you start giving people review copies and not giving other people review copies because of your subjective judgment on who is providing what you believe to be accurate feedback, what does that tell every journalist? That tells every journalist it is in my best interest to provide a distorted outlook on this video game for the betterment of my career. It's called access journalism. It has existed before video games. And it was bad then, and it's bad now. And I'm very disappointed, but I completely understand why people are being negative about this. Absolutely. Let me read a few comments here. It's a very dangerous path. Yes, it is. People are allowed to shout bullshit from the rooftop, but the truth will eventually shut them up, right? Well, yes, unfortunately, right? To be honest, grats for IGN, huge W for them. Kotaku deserves one thing only, bankruptcy. Yeah, if you think Kotaku should go out of business, that's totally fair. I think Kotaku writes needlessly inflammatory articles all the time. And I'm sure people at Kotaku think that I make needlessly inflammatory videos all the time. And that's their right to think, as well as it's my right to think. But it is up to the audience and the consumer to decide what they find value in. And if people find value in what Kotaku is providing, then they don't deserve to go bankrupt, because that's the way a free market works, and isn't that a beautiful fucking thing? Imagine the opposite. Why does access journalism matter? In a free market, shouldn't it correct itself if people cared? Shouldn't it correct itself if people cared? I think in the long term, you can make an argument that I can't prove to be wrong. But in the short term, and even in the medium term, I think that it's very bad. Like, generally, these things, these eras of access journalism come to an end. But the time in which they exist is bad. Does that make sense? If only the reviews are positive, it paints an inaccurate picture of the game. It does. It definitely does. But I think that what he's saying is that by painting an inaccurate picture of the game, eventually people will catch on to that and then lose interest in that type of journalism. And then, and then stop consuming it. It's not pronounced enough of an issue for it to be happening on a major, measurable scale. You're right, and that's why I want to make sure I point it out. And so, because of this, I want to talk a little bit about this. Because of this, I will be playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on release. And I will be providing a fair review. For better or for worse, you will know and see the truth. Honest feedback, that's right. Can you cosplay the Joker, though? Well, some people, according to Twitter, think that I already am. Anytime that a game does this, I will review the game. Because I think this is so problematic. What if I play the game and it's good? I hope it's good. I am not hoping for a bad game. Everything that I've seen makes me think that it's bad. But I hope that it is good. In the same way that I hoped that A Day Before is good. In the same way that I hoped that, I don't know, there's probably another game recently that I played that was like kind of garbage, but I hope that it'd be good too. Right? So like, yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. NA bullshit content creators thrive off of thrashing stuff? Yes, you're right. And I could have thrived off of thrashing a lot of games, and I chose not to, such as the overpriced Prince of Persia game in the eyes of the market. I did not. Same as The Day Before it came out. I actually defended the game because I thought people were being unfair. I love trashing games, and I also love glazing games that are great. And I will do both of them to the extent that I think it's the right thing to do. What you're doing is fighting this as part of the market correcting itself? I know, and that's why I'm doing it. Access and perceived paid journalism are the reasons why game reviews from critics are seen less respectably and ignored by the public. That's the free market effect. You're right about that, but at the same time, they do have an effect. If they didn't have an effect, then people wouldn't be doing them. Like, these companies wouldn't be worth a lot of money, and these companies do make money. Like, you're definitely right that the value of a critic review in like 2010 to 2015 to 2020 to now is a line that goes like this. You're totally right. But this bottom part isn't zero. It does matter. And wouldn't it be nice if we had critics that were giving good reviews too? I don't know. I think that'd be great. Not good reviews in terms of good versus bad, but good game versus bad game, but quality reviews. Is it hard to have no opinion about a game that you're about to play? No, I'm going into the game, I'm going to think it's garbage, and I hope that it will prove me wrong. Of course I have a bias going into the game. I try to approach things as unbiasedly as possible, but I am a human just like anybody else is, and everybody has a bias going into a game like Suicide Squad. People know the characters, they probably have an emotional attachment to them. They grew up with Batman, they didn't like Batman, they liked Marvel more. Everybody's going to have an opinion. And so, like, my job really is to try to overcome that, to provide something objective, rather than to just provide something objective without even thinking about the way that I feel. Of course, you're definitely right. 100%. Yes. So, Skill Up did a fair review of the game. But anyway, yeah, I saw this. This is a guy that tweeted out, and Destin, this guy said he's right, no one is, and it says you're not entitled to being sent a code, and he's right. He right. But to send out no codes at all or be selective with them should certainly send a message to customers. Yes, exactly. Like Warner Brother are entirely 100% within their rights to do this. It is their right to do this. I support them in doing this because it is their decision to it's freedom of association. I just disagree with how it's being used. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this. And I personally think that any developer that does this does it for one reason and one reason only. It's not because they care about the journalistic integrity of IGN. It's because they don't want their game to look bad in the eyes of the public. Which is why I will be playing it on release. And I will give you a fair take on this game. But yeah, going back to this real quick, I do want to say that, yeah, this is a really massive L for Warner Brothers to not give out review codes for a game. I think this is really, really bad, and it creates a horrible precedent. And I know that people don't like games journalism because they feel like it's very biased. But what is more biased, games journalism or a company who doesn't want you to? Because somebody gives a bad review or something like that. Like, you don't really lose money from a bad review, right? Like basically Kotaku or IGN cost you IQ points, but Warner Brothers wants to cost you money. So, sorry, I'm going to side with IGN and Kotaku. I think that they're full of shit. I think Warner Bros. Is completely full of shit by doing this. They should be giving everybody review codes if they want to review the game. And they're an honest, genuine reviewer. It's outrageous that that's not the case. It's bad for gaming society, but I bet this isn't Warner Bros. First time, and they have the data to back up the cost of the bottom line. And it's totally within their right to do that, and that's why I'm expressing my dislike for it. Why can't they just review it on release just like everyone else? Because they're not just like everyone else. And also, reviewers serve as a tool for audiences to use to judge whether content is worthy of purchase or not. So, for example, the reviewers, people are going to buy the game whenever it comes out. But if there's a review that's out ahead of time that says the game is very good or the game is not very good, that will affect those people buying the game ahead of time. So, reviews are supposed to be for the value and the knowledge of the consumer. The reviews are incredibly good. They're very, very important to have. And if you can't review and criticize a product, then what is the purpose of it? So yeah, that's why. Reviews are just ads by a different name. It doesn't give you actual useful info as a consumer. It's just subjective as fuck and usually written by out-of-touch gamers. I completely disagree with you. I think that there are a lot of great reviews, and I actually think that the majority of reviews are relatively unbiased. Or actually not unbiased, but I think that they're relatively accurate. And also, I think that you shouldn't really take a review as a gold standard by the nature of it being a review. I think that you should take a review as a gold standard by the nature of who it is and how much you identify with their values. Like, for example, for me, who do I listen to for reviews? Well, Force Gaming. because he plays a lot of the same shit that I play. Fucking duh, right? I mean, I'm gonna look for people that provide that look for the same content that I do, and then I'm going to basically follow them. That's kind of common sense, isn't it? Lazy Peon? Yeah, Lazy Peon is great for MMOs, exactly. Why do you use a moral argument for IGN journalists, but against artists and AI matter? Moral argument? It's not a moral argument. It's a functional argument that will create a negative outcome for a consumer. That's why. So, like, this will have, like, a direct negative functional impact on the consumer. Yeah, this isn't really a moral argument in a way. And I think that it's actively harmful to the end consumer. And also, by the way, I've shit on plenty of games that use, that, like, copy things directly. Like, I've even shit on Pal World. I've even said, like, yeah, I think that Nintendo might have a case, right? So, whenever I was talking about the AI thing, I was talking about how customers will respond to something. Whereas, like, I don't necessarily think something is right or wrong based off of whether customers will respond to it or not. But I think that knowing whether customers will respond to this or not is important to ground yourself in reality. Does that make sense? So, like, you can acknowledge that, like, for example, like I was talking about the, what do you call it? The translators and the localization yesterday. And I said at the end of it, right? I was like, I don't think that this is going to make a difference, right? Like me making this video isn't really going to matter, right? But, like, I still want to talk about it because, fuck, I mean, this is what my opinion is. So, like, I can share my opinion about something, but simultaneously know that this opinion probably will not be some actionable thing that will change the world. So, like, I act in accordance with what I believe to be the right thing to do, at least to the extent that I feel like I want to. But that doesn't mean that I know that, like, I have some expectation that what I do is going to have an effect beyond myself. Does that make sense? Do you think that this will matter? Like, some noticeable amount of people will not buy the game early? No, but I think that it will create a negative feedback loop that will be unhealthy for customers. And it'll be unhealthy for the industry. And that's why I'm talking about it.